straight hip-hop and started from scratch.
How's it going, my evil residents? Today we're going to take a look at all of the Stalker enemies in the Resident Evil franchise, and we're going to rank them from worst to best. We're going to be ranking 5 of them today, making this a top 5, but we're ranking all of them, so I'm just going to say worst to best. Now, the ones that will not be included on this list because they are technically not Stalker enemies, even though they are coded and kind of act like them. Mendez will not be on this list from Resident Evil 4 Remake because he literally just follows you down a hallway. I wouldn't really classify that as a Stalker enemy. He literally just follows you down a hallway. Most enemies will do that. We won't be counting Mr. X from the original Resident Evil 2 because while he does sort of act like a Stalker enemy, technically he just spawns at scripted times and follows you through the room. Same thing as Mendez. He doesn't really have any free will, so to speak, quote unquote, that most of these other Stalker enemies do that you would associate Stalker enemies with. So they will not be on this list, but yeah, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
Coming up in last place, we have Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village, of course. Now, the reason she's in last place is 1, she's kind of a pushover. 2, there is literally zero way to deal with her. You just have to run away from her. And 3, she barely chases you and is barely in the game. I think she chases you for less time than Remake Nemesis does, who is also low on this list, but we'll get there. It's honestly kind of lame in general how underused Lady Dimitrescu is, and I think her status as a very lame diet Stalker enemy is very emblematic of that. She is barely a Stalker enemy. She follows you for like one section of the game. It's basically when you start getting the first mask, that's when she starts following you up until her boss fight. So it's just kind of lame. She doesn't go in all the rooms, and yeah, you can't really counterplay her besides running away. Whereas all these other ones, you can counterplay them if you're good enough and brave enough. Yeah, that's why she ends up at number 5. Sure, she's cool and everything, but her status as a Stalker enemy is just very lame. Nobody likes her because she's a Stalker enemy. So yeah, she's in number 5.
Patrick!
There comes a giant fish!
Patrick, no!
In number 4, we have the most criminal placement on this list. Nemesis in the Remake. Nemesis in the Remake should be number 1. How they coded Nemesis, all the effort they put into his AI to affect the way he behaves, incredibly fascinating, incredibly satisfying, and incredibly awesome. If you haven't looked up any like developer stuff on how Remake Nemesis actually works when he is acting like a Stalker enemy, I highly recommend looking it up. It's very detailed and very well designed. But the problem is he only stalks you for one small segment of the game, and then he stalks you for like a tiny bit in another segment, but all he does is chase you and shoot rockets at you. So all of his coding goes out the window. He has a wide variety of moves and stuff that he does. He does spawn semi-randomly depending on when you take him out and stuff like that. He will come back. He will spawn in many different places. He will use many different types of attacks on you. He'll delay his attacks. He has so many cool moves, but he's just not used at all. He's used for one short segment. He's honestly used maybe a little bit less than Lady Dimitrescu is, but the reason I'm placing Remake Nemesis above Lady Dimitrescu is because he does have counterplay. He is fun when he is around, especially on the higher difficulties when he's not a pushover. There's elements here that make him really fun as is, but existing with context of the original Resident Evil 3, with other Stalker enemies, with Resident Evil 2 Remake, he's just incredibly disappointing when he is supposed to be the premier Stalker enemy. That's his gig, that's his thing, that's his whole personality, and he's kind of robbed of it in this remake, which is why he's so disappointing, and is why he gets the number 4 spot. He's not like totally lukewarm lame at the job like Lady Dimitrescu is. He's not given enough hours at work, basically. He doesn't get his time to shine. All that epic, awesome coding and stuff they did for him is just wasted by making him on rails most of the time, and you don't really get to ever see it unless you purposefully take a ton of time to experience it.
I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole!
I had a hard time deciding between these two, and I ultimately decided to put Jack Baker at 3rd because you don't get too much time with him. He's only in like the first third of the game, as a Stalker enemy up until his chainsaw duel boss fight. That is the point up until he's a Stalker enemy, and then after that, you don't see him until his other boss fight. Jack is such a great Stalker enemy because he does more of what Nemesis does. He's very detailed. He has a good AI. His banter with you. He makes fun of you while he chokeslams you. He's wonderful. He's really fun, and he's scary. I'd argue he's the scariest one on this list. I feel bad placing him higher because these next two just have much of a bigger impact on the game. He will be a huge thing that you remember about this game. He makes this game very memorable, very scary in the first half. I think that's why the first half of this game is so scary, is because of Jack Baker. You don't really know what he's going to do, and then his mix-ups on Madhouse mode, they just make him so fun and so scary. And that's why he lands right in the middle of the list. But I would place him, if there was like 15 Stalker enemies, he would still be top 5, easily. Because he's honestly just a huge step above the last two that we talked about, which is a huge shame, but is awesome for him. So he goes at number 3.
On stage now, can't yank knob any harder.
In second place, we have the OG Nemesis, the guy that wrote the book on the Stalker enemy business. Now, I do want to say up front here, Nemesis, his spawns are always scripted. Now, I don't care what anyone says otherwise. You can look at the game code. You can look at research that people have done into this game. Nemesis, when he spawns in this game, is always scripted. He does not have random spawns. Now, what he does once he's spawned in, that is completely random. That is completely up to the Nemesis AI. And let me tell you, that Nemesis AI for this early 2000s game, oh my god, he's smarter than most current AI enemies in any game. He's smarter than most of the Halo AIs from the early Halo games, and those AIs were seen as genius at the time. This guy will juke you out, he will dodge you, he will counterplay you, he will mix up his moves on you, he will cancel into other moves. This guy is a fighting game character. This guy, while you're playing Resident Evil 3, he's playing Marvel vs. Capcom, alright? He's gonna juke you out, he's gonna smoke you. Most people cannot deal with this guy without expending all of their ammo. That's how good he is. The reason I didn't place him at number 1 is honestly just because his spawns are scripted. If he had a few more random spawns in this game, he would be the perfect Stalker enemy. And honestly, those random spawns are why the number 1 got the number 1. I gotta put original Nemesis, the guy that wrote the book, at number 2. He wrote that book so well, but the number 1 spot just topped him just a little bit. I could see these top 2 being changed. Honestly, any of these top 3, if you put it at your number 1, I completely understand. But especially these top 2, we're gonna move on to talking about the number 1. You all know who it is by now by process of elimination, so let's just get talking about it. At number 1, we have Mr. X. X gon' give it to you, the Benadryl Hat Man himself. He has random spawns. He has counterplay. The Nemesis AI has an active hearing system in this game. He has an active tracking system in this game. He follows you. He sees where you've been, what you've done, and he will figure out where you are based on that. He will listen for you, and then he will follow you, and he will make the most direct path to do so. But because he always makes the most direct path to follow you, and he is the same speed as you, he still has counterplay. And if you're trapped in a room with him, you can still juke him out. If you can hear where he's coming from, you can kind of counterplay him like that. He's so well designed. He's so perfectly designed. And he's in a good amount of the game, not enough of the game to be annoying. He's not in quite enough of the game to make him overstay his welcome, but he's just so perfectly used in Resident Evil 2. And it just makes RE3 Remake Nemesis so disappointing, man. They had it right there. Literally just copy paste. Why? But yeah, Mr. X, he's got it all. He's got the scripted spawns of the OG Nemesis with the helicopter, his spawn in the labs. Oh man, his spawn in the parking garage where all the cells open. That made me shit my pants the first time I played this game. You could shoot his hat off. He's got a funny little hat. That alone puts him at number 1. That's it. He wanted to blend in and look like a person, so he just put a little hat on. That is adorable. That one thing alone would put him at number 1. But all his other amazing qualities, of course, also put him at number 1. I mean, yeah, Mr. X. What else do I have to say? He takes the good things about every other character, except for Jack Baker grilling you. He doesn't do that. which if Mr. X did that, he would be awesome. Yeah, Mr. X he takes Nemesis OG, evolves on the concept basically perfectly, and yeah. The only thing I would say about Mr. X that I don't like too much, this is nitpicking. Okay, this is nitpicking, 100% nitpicking, is he's too easy. It's too easy to dodge his one single move that he has. You can easily just like bait his punch and then run past him. And it's like, no. I wish he had like either like 1 or 2 more moves, or would like juke you out a little bit more just to counter that business, but that's nitpicking. He's amazing. So yeah, Mr. X is number 1. I think that's pretty clear, at least for me. But if you put OG Nemesis or Jack Baker up at this top spot here, I completely understand. But if you put Lady D or Remake Nemesis top here, I don't know what you're doing. If you did, feel free to say why in the comments, or leave your whole list in the comments. I would love to see your guys' list. I did do a community poll to see your guys' favorite, which I will put on the screen right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, feel free to drop a like. If you subscribed, feel free to suplex the subscribe button. If you're tired of my horrible microphone and you like this channel and you want to help me improve on stuff on the channel, like getting a new microphone, getting the premium version of my video editor, become a member. Starts at 99 cents. You get epic green herb emojis, and you get access to a green herb badge that evolves and becomes cooler and more rare herbs over time. It's really awesome. And yeah, I would greatly appreciate it if you did that. And if you didn't do that, obviously, I still really appreciate you watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, stay evil, my residents.